What's up, guys? Welcome to another casted replay. We have myself playing on the sturdy Dwarves versus my opponent, Vrax, who is playing on Bretonnia. Okay, let's jump right in, take a look at the builds. For my opponent on Bretonnia, he is running with a Fey Enchantress for his Lord. Looks like she's running with Earthblood and Regrowth, so a couple big healing spells. Excuse me. Also her other passive abilities and Favor of the Fey, which grants melee attack plus 40 to whatever unit she blesses. For the front line, we have peasant mobs pretty much right across the front with man-at-arms in the back, ready to fight for their beloved lady. In the back, we have peasant bowmen. This is the fire arrow variety, actually, so those guys will do a little extra fire damage. Actually, they all are along the back. More man-at-arms, more arrows, so lots of man-at-arms and arrows with peasant mom. Pretty infantry-heavy build here with the archers backing them up, but all fairly cheap infantry variety. For the heroes, Bretonnia is running Gotrek and Felix, a very strong combo. Gotrek with a heal when he gets down below 10% chance of healing, 100% leadership. This guy will not break. Anti-large, armor piercing, and magical attacks with his big magical rune axe there and his one eye, just enough to keep an eye on you. And his trusty partner Felix, who's always with him. Felix also providing a heal, regeneration, blood oath, enabled if in melee, put a healing on the Lord or on Gotrek. He also has wounds as a passive ability, so does Gotrek, and the ability to use Helping Hand, which gives 40 melee attack and 40% damage resistance for a hero or a lord. So very strong, very tough little goon squad here. These guys are actually banned in a lot of tournaments I play in, considered fairly OP, but we'll see how we make out against these guys. Now, Bretonnia, of course, they're going to have cavalry off on the sides, hiding in the woods. Over here we have some mounted yeomen, just some cheaper kind of cavalry off to the side, probably coming around looking to get a flank. And on the other side of the map we have, what do we've got here? Some more mounted yeomen and Grail Guardians. Now, Grail Guardians being a much higher tier cavalry unit, 120 armor, 90 leadership, magical attacks, armor piercing, very strong cavalry, good cavalry unit. And for myself, as the Dwarves, we have a front line of miners with blasting charges. Good little blasting charge, only one ammunition, but when you first close the ranks with the front line, it usually does a very good job, does quite a bit of damage before you commit all the way in. Behind them, secondary line of 3 Longbeards, providing that little bit of better infantry support. Miners aren't too strong as a melee unit. You wouldn't want to rely on them for too long. So to back them up, we have Longbeards with great weapons, which provide armor and armor piercing. So these guys are pretty tough. They'll be a good back line. We also have 3 Thunderers, armor piercing missile unit. And in the back, we have 2 cannons, anti-large cannons. I figured since I was going against Bretonnia, I should have some little bit of anti-large, these cannons, just to shoot at whatever I can. Due to the terrain, though, it was pretty hard to get targets starting off. I couldn't see his cavalry. I couldn't really see his army, just the first couple units poking out and his lord. And behind my cannons, I have brought 2 units of Giant Slayers. These guys here, very good against large units. 100% leadership. You have to kill these guys right down to the end. Armor piercing, anti-large. Can't go wrong with Slayers. And for my lord, wherever he is, we have Thoric Ironbrow. Didn't put him on a mount or anything, kept him small. Still a strong lord in melee, but he's running with the runes. Rune of Negation, 40% damage resist. Rune and Oath of Steel. This would be 30 armor on himself or a unit of my choosing. And also a little bit of runic magic explosion. Pretty good explosion just for any clumped up unit that I see. So we'll get the game going. Got a little bit of a gap to close here. As you can see, it's quite a big map, and we can see this in replay mode, but when I started, I can't see any cavalry way off to the side, and I couldn't even see his full army. So I basically just sit here for a minute, start moving my Thoric Ironbrow out. Yes, I almost forgot to mention Thoric Ironbrow. I chose him if the enemy team has a caster, and especially this one with a caster lord. I have the passive of, where if I can find it here, whenever they cast a spell around me, I basically have an ability that will, I don't see it right here, I don't know why I don't see it, but he definitely has it. When they cast an ability around them, they have a chance of taking damage, so that's why I took Thoric. He's a pretty good option for going against Lord, so I send him in on the Fae. He's pretty damn slow, though. He's probably not going to catch her. I start turning my cannons, anti-large cannons, shooting at the Fae. Kind of the only target at first, but pretty bad target. She's too small and too fast, even though she is technically large on her horse. So we don't want to waste too much ammo on that. We stop shooting at her. Thoric kind of runs her off a little bit, but he'll soon come back. Now that the armies have gotten a little close together, let's just speed up a little bit here, just so you guys don't have to watch two armies walk together. They start to get in range here, and I just turned my Thunderers onto the front line here. I want to clear out this front line as quick as possible. I see all these archers back here, and I definitely want to just bust through this line as quick as I can and get to these archers. So I set the cannons right on his front line, peasant mobs. I also get my Thunders firing away. They quickly run off these guys. The Fae Enchantress actually takes a run at Thoric, which I don't think is a fight she would actually want, but she just gave him a little bump there, and she sends in Gotrek and Felix. This will be a fight that Thoric probably won't want to take for very long. I do end up popping, I don't know if I can see him here, I do end up popping my damage resistance rune there to try to survive a little bit, but as you can see right off the bat, Gotrek and with Felix support is just beating the shit out of my lord. So we're gonna try to back up and give my lord a little support here. Meanwhile, the front line absolutely busts his front line with my miners with blasting charges, doing good work on the front line, pretty much shattering it right away. So the rest of my units begin to move up. Meanwhile, my opponent on the flanks, I knew this cavalry was going to have to show up at some point, starts flanking in on the edges, trying to get onto my artillery and probably any of my range units. I get a little clumped up here, probably a bit of a mistake, but with the try to micro my lord to get him out of this situation, and then I finally noticed all the cavalry coming in, so it was all hell just kind of broke loose here at this point, and we just started sticking things on targets. My Giant Slayers, I want them on large targets like the cavalry here. They'll go in and do a good job there if they can get on top of them. My Thunderers, they're just kind of shooting close range at whatever comes around. The Yeomen and the Archers are definitely doing a number on those guys, targeting them down really well. Miners get off some blasting charges on these man-at-arms, taking off almost friggin' half their life. That's a pretty good shot there. They're going to move in after to follow up. Meanwhile, Fire Arrows continue to rain in, doing a pretty good work against my Thunderers. They don't really like that. Don't really like that fire coming down on them at the moment. But as far as my melee units go, they're still holding pretty strong, holding the line. I got my lord away from Gotrek for now, but he's staying on me. He really wants to take out this Thoric here. He must have offended him at some point, so Gotrek's not going to let it go, and he's going to keep chasing him around. Even though Gotrek himself took a little bit of damage, these Longbeards, Giant Slayers, got a few whaps on him on the way out, so pretty even trade so far, but I have to be careful because my lord's right here. Gotrek has a lot more support and healing to follow this up with, so I continue to micro Thoric around and try to get him out of there. Longbeards just kind of stand here, not really helping their lord. Hopefully they do soon, along with Giant Slayers. So he runs into somebody, starts getting some help down there. Cavalry still in the back line, taking out my cannons, but also taking some pretty good fire from my Thunderers, so they won't want to stay there too long. They should probably start cycle charging. In the front, we still have Longbeards holding the line. Miners running off his archers, trying to get them out of the way. More miners coming in behind these other archers, basically just running at them to keep them far back. This guy here, this one mining unit holding up 3 units in the back, so that's pretty good, even though he's not really doing too much. He's keeping them back there so they can't fire. These miners get a volley off on the peasant bowmen. That runs them off. They're going to keep running them away, so did a good job of shutting down the range and keeping them off the main battle, but my lord took a beating. Things start getting a little scary now as Thoric winds around, just trying to stay away from that friggin' Gotrek, but we've got him surrounded now. He's kind of hard to tell. He's the one with the mohawk and the one eye and a few extra tattoos. So he's in there with some of his brethren, but they're gonna try to get some chops on him while they can. He's actually getting really low. Gotrik's gonna have to look out. Fey Enchantress charges my lord. He can probably hold out against her for a pretty good amount of time, even though he is low, but still going to want to be careful. Very low, very vulnerable, and there's still a lot of cavalry around. Longbeards, meanwhile, still holding the middle, fighting with these men-at-arms, along with the miners, doing a pretty good job. They should be able to clean this up eventually, but they continue to be cycle charged, and with all this mobility, the dwarves are not mobile. They're very slow, so they do struggle against mobility sometimes. Finally bringing some Slayers over here once they clean up this area to come over and help the Lord. My Lord getting so low. He has his Rune of Negation on right now with 40% damage resist. The Slayers, little slip up here from my opponent, letting her Fey Enchantress opponent get surrounded by Slayers, which are anti-large. And this, on her horse, she is a large unit right now, so she is getting absolutely chopped to pieces. My Lord runs away just before he's ready to shatter, and we break their Lord with the Giant Slayers. So more cavalry piling in, but the Giant Slayers won't have a problem with that. Both our lords actually getting routed off at the same time, so gonna try to keep my Slayers close to my lord, and he's gonna do the same with his cavalry, because they're gonna need some escort, some protection here when they do come back. Meanwhile, the front line's cleaned up pretty good. One set of Thunders, they rallied back, getting a few shots in on the cavalry, doing any damage they can. Got his archers pushed way back here. Very healthy miners, but they are so far back. They are doing their job, though. They're keeping these archers way back. So I'm going to continue to micro these guys and just keep pushing these archers and making them run away. Bringing in all my rallying units. My lord he's still broken at the moment. The enemy lord, Fey Enchantress, she finally rallies way out at the edge of the map. Got to keep an eye on that. Don't want her coming back. Thoric barely survives and gets saved by all these Slayers and gets a little space finally. Cannons, I do kind of sneak those back online. I think they get a volley onto these guys and get a nice shot, but he brings in the cavalry to take that out. He said, no more. I already shut this down once. We're not getting that back online. And whatever scraps of units I have left, I send them in here on this little group of cavalry. Really want to clean up his mobility. That's one of the hardest things to deal with right now. Same thing in the back line, ran off quite a few of his units, all his peasant mobs and stuff. Most of his archers. He's got a couple archer units here he's trying to bring back in to get him into the fight. But these miners are in hot pursuit with their tiny little legs. They'll get there eventually. More of his cavalry routed off here in the distance. That's good for me. Oh, I must have just missed it, but we actually did end up sending out these Slayers, and they killed the enemy lord as she tried to come back in. So good job to the Slayers. Looks like she took one with her, so fair trade. And these guys come back into Royal Rumble some more. Thoric's still alive, barely by a thread. 300 life left. Like, basically a peasant mob could take him out. Felix still on the field. We're going to have to watch out for him. We send our Slayers in to take care of that. We got to get Felix out of here, take care of the rest of these horses. I put another Rune of Negation on me for damage resistance. Because without it, I think I would pretty much be dead. Meanwhile, we also have more Longbeards with great weapons, Longbeards, Slayers, and one more unit of miners cleaning up the middle. So we kind of take control, turn ourselves into a bit of a blob, and rally around the Lord to keep him protected. Basically fighting off cavalry charges from every direction. These fire arrows finally get in range and start firing into my little low blob here, which I have to be careful because if they take too much fire, they will rout. And these guys are doing fire damage, so that is a little bit of they are on fire, yep. So they don't like that. They don't like being on fire too much, but they've got help on the way. Meanwhile, my miners acting as my cavalry back here, coming in for a flank on these archers. Slayers ran off the last of his cavalry. These ones finally shatter. He's got a few remnants of units left, but we can pretty much run most of these off. Their lord's dead. The leadership's very low. We come in. Thoric is also very low, so I have to be careful myself. There is still enough here to kill him, and if they kill him and kite me around enough, because I'm so damn slow, they could definitely take the game. Archers firing in on my Slayers, trying to get some damage on them. They're a pretty big threat. I used a Rune of Explosion on the last of this little blob here, and that pretty much shatters and sends the rest routing away once they see the rest of my dwarves coming in. Thoric just trying to keep him safe, running him into the middle of friendly units and just running interference. trying to keep all these guys on top of him so that they can't kill him and then sneak away and kite me around. Where the bounce power is still very even, just because my lord is very low, and so are a lot of my units. So he still has a couple of high-value cavalry units on the map. So we pile in with the last of our slayers, though. These guys fight right till the end. They're unbreakable, so you can count on my slayers to come in and get some decent anti-large damage done on these guys. Off on the hill, miners run off the last of his swordsmen and bows, and that's it. My opponent decides to FF on that one. I think it was just a matter of time before the dwarves finished cleaning everything up. And yeah, that was a very fun game. Lots of action, lots of movement. Sort of went for a little bit of a block play, you know, like the defensive square with the dwarves. But I also wanted to get him in there and get him fighting. I didn't have the luxury of just sitting back with the amount of range and mobility that my opponent had. So had to make a move and chase off his ranged while my slayers and heavier units dealt with the middle ground and protecting the lord. But that was a GG to my opponent. Well played. Very fun game, and hope to see you guys on the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys later. Peace.